Welcome to your Partner in Crime podcast, a space where you can elevate everything within you and around you. I'm Elizabeth Campbell,
I'm Isabela Castro.
and together we explore the many facets of relationships. Your relationship with yourself, with others, with food, with fitness, with habits, and with the world around you. Join us as we share heartfelt conversations, personal stories, and powerful tools to inspire growth, connection, and transformation in your life. Let's dive in together.
Let's do it. Welcome to your Partner in Crime podcast. I'm super excited to be here because we're starting a new journey together. Today is actually the day where all the planets align, so that means that we're starting something in the right time. The Your Partner in Crime podcast is meant to inspire very deep conversations about relationships in all facets of our being, in who we are and what we want. So today we're actually talking about who we are and why are we here to start this journey together. So first, I wanted to open the space to ask Elizabeth more about who she is and what does she want to tell about herself in this new start.
Yeah, this is super exciting to be here. I think we have, just based on us knowing each other for the last 3 years or so, right? 3 years, I think. We've had so many deep conversations that we've had along the way, and we connect so well in so many different facets of life. And I feel like every time we have these conversations, I'm always like, dang it, we should record this. So I'm really excited that we're able to finally be here and launch this podcast. And hopefully, for all of you listening, you can see and learn from our own personal experiences so that hopefully, in a way, we can crunch time for you and pass on lessons so that you can transform and evolve in a much, maybe not so much an easier way, but have an awareness about these life experiences so that you can navigate through them with more clarity and with more ease. So to start off, my name is Elizabeth Campbell. I really began my journey, it really started in 2013, so almost 11 years ago. That's when I started my first year of college, and I kind of felt lost as far as, when you make a big leap like that, you're really kind of redefining who you are. You're finding new friend groups, you're finding what you really want to do in your life, and your identity is really being challenged in those moments. And so at that time, I also had gained the freshman 15, and I was like, okay, this cannot be, my reality. I was like, I don't want to be that person, And so I started looking online as far as like, what can I do to kind of like just get rid of this little weight that I gained, partying or, eating all of the college food that they have on campus, And, unfortunately at that time, Google would put out results that were like, eat 1,200 calories a day and exercise or do as much cardio, as possible. And so that's kind of what I did. I started running and until I got shin splints, like I went from 0 to 100 real fast. So I like cut down my caloric intake. I started tracking all the time. And it became like an obsession. And so once it became an obsession, it was like, that became my entire life at that point. Like that was my sole focus. And it ultimately became this like over-consuming thought in my mind. It was like when I was sitting in class, it was like, what am I going to eat for the day? What am I going to make? It was like very, it became toxic. And I realized that. And so I was like, well, actually, I didn't realize that until later. What happened was the more I restricted, then the primal instincts in my body started kicking in. And I started having the urge to like overeat. So I went from like restricting hardcore to then now overeating. And then that caused me to like want to purge. And so I went through this very roller coaster of experiences trying to figure out how to connect more with my body and how to overcome like the ultimate goal, which was to lose weight. But at this point, it became more than that. Now it became like a mental challenge, not just a physical one, a mental challenge. And then along the way, depression and anxiety came with all of these things. So I say that to say that that was kind of the catalyst to my journey. And it wasn't until I started really building a better relationship with myself and finding more self-love in that process and having more grace. Because I remember there was moments where I would, after the binging would happen, then I would feel so much shame and guilt. And then it perpetuated this cycle over and over and over again. And I had to be like, at this point, I was trying to figure out how to like break the cycle, like where do you even start? And so I ended up, I remember one of the most pivotal points for me was when I did mirror work and I would write, I accept myself unconditionally right now. And it was that actually I couldn't, because what I wanted to say was like, I love myself, but I couldn't even connect with that. I was like, I don't love myself. And so what the closest I could get to that was I accept myself unconditionally right now. And after repeating that every single day, I was able to rewire my neurons and finally find more love within myself. So, and that once I realized that was like, wow, I can actually rewrite the thoughts that I have. I realized that I had to overpower all of the negative thoughts because I had way more negative thoughts in my mind. And so at that point, I was like, okay, if I can do that, what else can I do in my life? So that brought me to start to redevelop a better relationship with my mind and my body. And then I kind of thought I was healed 4 years later. And that's when I decided to challenge myself in a bodybuilding competition because I was like, now I want the discipline and the drive, like the grit to do something hard. And I thought that, because I had healed my relationship, or I thought I did at the time, that I was going to be okay in competing. Mm-hmm. So after I placed top 5 in my bodybuilding competition, put myself through it. So it was a really great learning experience as far as discipline and building the resilience and visualization too. Because I remember like doing my cardio doing cardio was one of my ways to lean down. And I remember like staring, on like the treadmill or the Stairmaster machine, you can see your reflection if the TV's turned off. I remember just like looking at my eyes and I'd be like visualizing myself on stage, and I would really just run through that movie frame in my mind. Mm-hmm. And so that became a very important lesson for me too, is the power of visualization. So flash forward, competed in my bodybuilding competition, and then I rebounded. Then I started binging again, and I was like, whoa, okay, this can't be, this isn't going to happen again. Mm-hmm. And so a really big red flag at that time for me was I had lost my period for 4 years. Oh. And so I think that was like the turning point of like, I needed to heal my body completely and allow myself to go through this like rebound phase so that I could get my period back and then find a healthy equilibrium to get back to. So that's what I did. So I didn't restrict because I knew that was going to perpetuate the cycle like it did before. So I found ways to I guess better approach the situation than the first time around. And so I would eat healthier meals and be like, well, I'm fueling my body to be stronger and to show up better, and my body needs energy. And so using more of the positive affirmations to keep that positive mindset going. So after a while, I finally found a place of peace and really felt it took about 1 to 2 years to really find that stable ground again. And I was like, okay, I'm never doing a bodybuilding competition again. I don't want to re-trigger that. I decided to just create small habits that ultimately stacked over time. Mm-hmm. And then I finally found what are like my core things, my core values that I continue to live daily, whether that's like walking outside, strength training, going on walks, eating healthy, or nutrient dense foods, but also not having that super restrictive mindset. So after that journey, I had a lot of people come to me for asking advice, for help, and because they saw everything that I had gone through. And that's kind of where my coaching began in 2020. And then we met when was that?
2021.
2021.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've been building, a lot of experiences, immersive experiences, retreats over the last few years. And yeah, that's kind of where I come from and what brought me here and brought me closer to you. So I'm going to flip the question back to you and ask you, who are you, who is Bela, and why are you here today?
Well, I wanted to first thank you for sharing, because what a beautiful story, and
Thank you.
your level of resilience is really inspiring.
Thank you.
So for me, I'm very grateful to know you as well. My story actually started when I was very young. I was 7 years old when I first got a tennis racket, and my dad put me to play tennis. And I never knew that was gonna be such a catalyst and transformative experience for me. Because since I started playing tennis, I very fast learned how talented I was. And I started playing ongoing. I would go to tournaments when I was 9. I won my first tournament, the first tournament I played. And then I got selected to be at this team when I was 10. I started playing regional tournaments when I was 10, and then national tournaments when I was 12, and then international tournaments when I was 14. And I started playing, in other countries, and I started to get ranked very, very well. But my whole story with tennis was way more than just playing and practicing every day. It was more like a lot of different experiences came from that. First of all, my dad was very, very tough on me. So it really triggered my self worth, So, if I didn't win a tournament, I was not good enough. I was never good enough. And sometimes I will win a tournament and I'll be so happy. But the times that I will lose, it was such a heavy experience, because I knew what kind of traumatic experience would be. Even though I know my dad wanted the best for me, it was a very tough transition because he didn't know how to express that. And for a long time, I had that very high pressure. So when I actually turned 14 and I was really well ranked, my dad offered me the opportunity to come to the U.S. and start playing in top level academies, where professionals would go. And I was so scared, and I remember he was saying well, that's why you're a failure, because you don't want to try, you don't want to try to be a professional tennis player. And it was a very heavy feeling, because I'm like, what if that's not what I want? I don't want to strive for a professional tennis player career. So then that's when I decided, I was like, I still want to leverage tennis as a form of incentive. And then I started actually practicing for better ranking, so I could get a full scholarship in the United States. So a fully paid scholarship, so I could come here and have this experience. So fast forward, when I turned 18, I came to the U.S. I got a full scholarship to play at a Division I tennis school here in Georgia. So I'm very grateful for that experience. Truly, it changed my life. When I first got here, I learned the level of transition and what it is to actually live outside of your space. When you live with your parents and you're so used to where I'm from in Brazil. I'm actually from Brazil. I didn't even mention that, but I'm originally from Brazil, and living in a very conservative upbringing, Catholic, and just very, very conservative, protective. I came here and I just didn't know any better. I didn't know the world is so much bigger, so many different people and experiences and cultures and backgrounds and belief systems and religion. And even for me to become such an independent person when I was 18, because I didn't have a support system here. I didn't have family members, nobody. And I was just, not my top level English yet. I'm not saying that my English is perfect, no, by any means. But I had to, really develop that ability to speak English, learn a new culture, get acclimated here. And then fast forward a year later, I met my ex husband, which he was a huge support system. He was like very important for my experience in general here in the US. Like he was the person that I could count on. I met his family. His family was my family, and that kind of like went through over college. I was a sophomore when I met him. I graduated, got a business degree, started working, and in the meantime, as tennis was my entire life, so I was always like playing tournaments and habits, and like that was kind of like I was very disciplined, and I had like very good skills when it comes to like time management and ability to just like have the discernment of like what was right or what was wrong, because I grew up in that mindset. And then when I got out of college and I worked for a company, I had to develop my own ways of like, okay, how am I going to take care of myself moving forward? Like I used to play tennis 3 hours a day, go for runnings, like all these activities, like going to do heavy weights, all that stuff. Like I've done everything since I was, 7 years old. So what am I going to do now? So I started like, okay, well, I want to go to the gym. I want to do this and that. So like I had to like also embody different habits and start going to different gyms and activities. I tried CrossFit, spinning, like heavy lifting, HIIT, all these different kinds of modalities, and running too. But none of them were just like, what I really love doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always like seeking for something. And a lot of people reach out to me like, how can you stay so consistent? Like, even though you stop playing tennis, a lot of people just kind of like, stop their habits, become sedentary. And I was just like always fixated on, I need to exercise, I need to do better. However, my relationship with food was always like very loose because I played so much tennis. I never had problems with my weight. I never had to watch what I was eating. And then I started gaining weight. I started like, seeing my body change because I was like very fit, and, it was easy to maintain. And then out of the sudden, I'm like, oh, wow, like I have to actually play more sports or do
Mm-hmm.
something different. And then I realized like nutrition was such a pivotal part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I started shifting my habits and so forth. In the meantime, I was also, in the process of getting married. So in 2020, actually in 2017 we got married here in Georgia. Then in 2019 we had like a huge celebration in Brazil, all my family members. In 2020 though, my ex-husband was having an affair with somebody at work, and that was very very hard for me because my he was my whole world here. Like I'm very very family oriented, so like he was everything for me. I had my friends and all that, so even though it was like that codependent relationship, I wouldn't say even, it was more like he was my core. I didn't know my life without him. And that shook me tremendously. So I actually had to figure out who was Bella, like, without family, without tennis, without him, without anything. Because I also decided to quit my job. So I was just like, okay, I have not this house, not my dog anymore, not my husband, not my job, not tennis. Like, who the hell is Bella, right? So that was like my identity crisis. And that's where I decided to launch Be Fit, which was my first company, with the intention to help people with mindset and shifting habits, like, physical training and all that stuff, and shaping a mentality that was powerful for them to actually understand who they were and what they wanted, and to become more confident in their mind and body. And then, doing different programs like challenges. And then I started doing life coaching. I started going to lots of seminars, all these different things, personal growth, retreats, all these different things. And I started to figure out like who was I, but in the meantime, also helping other people find out who they were. So it was a very fulfilling experience because I started actually finding out that we are all here in this learning journey. Nobody knows everything, and we are all here to empower each other and impact each other's lives. And then that's where I met you in 2021, and we figured out that we had the same mission to deeply impact people mentally, physically, emotionally through different immersive experiences. And that lead us to now where we're coming up with this podcast because we do believe that our stories combined with, such a background of like resilience and personal motivation and like just this deep, deep desire to leave a very strong impression in ourselves and others in this planet. So I think that is very powerful. Plus, our names mean the same thing. Elizabeth and Isabella means God's promise, and we're both very God centered. So it's just like very cool to see what we can do together. So I'm very grateful because I think our stories are different but complementary, and they all revolve around personal growth.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And as we were kind of defining what we wanted to bring to the table as far as using our voice and using our experience and our knowledge, even though health and wellness are one of the biggest pillars in our life, we decided that we really want to talk about relationships, because relationship doesn't mean just your significant other. Relationship means your relationship to food, relationships to health, to fitness, to personal growth, to yourself, to friends, to family, right? And so relationships are really at the key of life. And when we can really take a step back and observe what's happening around us and realize that we're all mirrors of each other and we can all learn from each other and grow, I think that's really what allows us to step into, honestly, like this sense of responsibility to say, I can create the most beautiful, expressive, authentic life, and I have the power to do that. Nobody else can do that for me. No, nothing externally will give me that sense of peace and joy, being grounded. I can only give that to myself. And it's through me understanding how I relate to everything around me, right?
Absolutely. I love that standpoint because I feel like most importantly in this lifetime is what the inward journey represents to us and the perspectives that we create around that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we see humans just like putting so much emphasis on external validation or external influences or like, oh my gosh, what is this person going to think here and there? But in reality, it's like, what am I thinking about myself and how am I shaping the relationship with the world around me that dictates the future that I want for myself and others, but also my present moment. Like, what is the relationship I have here?
Right.
And what is the relationship I had with my past? Like, have I forgiven myself and others and things that were, quote unquote, part of my story? It made me who I am.
Right.
And sharpen my edges along the way because as we continue the process of evolution, as we believe in, we can really guide people towards that and guide ourselves along the way. So even these conversations here, we can both learn from each other and learn from experiences that we both share.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And that, just as you were talking, something that came up for me was like this idea of like, I'll be happy when. It's like if we're constantly focused on, oh, when I get that promotion or when I get this car or when I achieve this, then it's like it's great to have goals, of course. But if we're waiting for happiness or like the pursuit of happiness, if you're waiting for that, then you'll never really be happy. It's like we really have to be present in the moment and find happiness throughout our daily life. And like I can be happy or find happiness in the small moments that we're here today. Like I can be happy that we have access to water or that I get to connect with such a beautiful soul. It's like finding those moments in time right here in the present.
Totally. And it's all about mindset and relationship with my body and spirit. It's like, what is your relationship with yourself? That's the first thing. And that's actually our next episode, which I'm super excited to talk about. But most importantly is like knowing why are we here today. So I just want to ask you, like, if you have like a few says on why do you want this podcast to happen?
I think it's important to be an observer of your own reality. It's so easy to get caught up in our emotions. And yes, it's important to honor those emotions, but I think it's also important to take a step back and reflect and be like, okay, especially when things are repeating in your life, when there's cycles that keep showing up, I think it can be really helpful to say, okay, X, Y, and Z keeps happening in my life on repeat. Like, why is that? Like, coming to life with a curiosity mindset, I think, is so important. And so just even opening up these conversations to not only help each other through this journey of life, but hopefully maybe impact someone here today, or just maybe even plant the seed for what can come to fruition later down the road, and
Totally.
having those tools, the right tools to be successful. I think that's really the reason why we're here, is to really create an impact, and also from a place of true authenticity, vulnerability, and love. I think we really bring that to the table. I think we are very grounded in our approach, and we kind of have this no bullshit, no filtered attitude, right? We're just like, we're coming here today with a place of love, and that's at the heart of everything we do.
That is very true. I think I want to really dive deep into what you said because it's everything that I also believe in. But also say the importance of implementation, right? It's like
Yeah, an
we can
embodiment.
talk all we want and all beautiful words, but like what is really behind the words, right? Like what are the actions that we're going to influence and empower others to take in their own lives in order to really shift their
Yeah.
state of being, and who they are in their core is so important to like go back and say, who am I? Like, am I really living up to my potential as a human being? Like, you were put on this planet, let's freaking live through it. Let's
Yes.
live the best impression to ourselves and others that we can, meaning that you are here to be somebody very special. And it's not about it's not about the titles and all that. I'm talking about like your character, your personality, your values. Like, are you living up to that?
Yeah. I'm so glad you
So
said that, because it's so easy through this journey to intellectualize everything and then think that the work is being done. And in a way, that's kind of like spiritually bypassing or intellectually bypassing actually doing the work. And so I think sometimes we come across people who they know so much about life and consciousness and depth and whatever. And then you question why certain actions or certain things aren't showing up in their life when they have all this knowledge. And I think when you peel back the layers, it's like, are they really doing the deep work that comes with that knowledge? So I guess to your point, it's like really inviting you guys along this journey and inspiring you guys to, hey, we're in this together. It's not all rainbows and butterflies. It's fun, and we're going to have fun. We're going to laugh but it's also, it is an emotional journey, but that's also what brings so much beauty to life, right? It's having the duality of life, having the highs and the lows to really help you appreciate each of those seasons of life, because we can't escape them. We're human, And so by honoring all of those emotions as they come and welcoming them, I think is so beautiful.
I love that. So actually, we are going to always ask a couple of questions in this podcast. We're also going to talk about health hack of the week
Ooh.
for each of us, and then we're going to finish up with always an intention, something to implement, because we want, again, you guys to take the actions, and we are all doing this together. It's like not one is better than the other. It's rather like let's empower each other.
Yes.
So, what is your hack of the week?
So, my health hack, top of mind, is mouth taping for me. I feel like I've been more consistent with mouth taping, and that has really helped me get into better deep sleep. And I do track my data on my Whoop, and I've noticed my HRV increases. That's been a really big goal of mine. So that's my health hack, is mouth tape.
Nice.
What's yours,
That's
Bella?
very interesting. For me, I am leveraging sleep as well, but I'm taking this this drink that I bought in Brazil, and it has different herbs. It has like lavender and chamomile, but it also has magnesium and spirulina.
Nice.
And I'm just mixing that with hot water and putting in a turmeric tea. And it just tastes so good. And I'm like, this is like a little evening ritual that I'm finally implementing, that it's also helping me sleep.
Oh, I love that. Yes, sleep is so important.
Yes.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
then what is our intention for the week?
Yeah, so our intention, and and I feel like this is so powerful. Once you become authentic, so how can you be the most authentic version of yourself? What actions need to take place in your life for you to show up authentically?
Yes, exactly. And just to expand on that, as you continue to grow and evolve, you're going to notice that there are people in your life that maybe aren't necessarily aligned with where you want to go. And it can be people, it can be habits, it can be like experiences. Maybe you're constantly going out to party or whatever. And I'm not saying you have to completely cut everything out of your life. But I think it's important to take note and recognize that it's okay that, maybe you do say no to certain things, or maybe you say yes to something that's a little bit scary and uncomfortable, but it's going to help you lean more into your authenticity, right? So I think authenticity is the intention of the week, and listening to your own body and your own intuition as far as what can I do to get closer to being my more authentic self.
Yes, being able to say yes or no to those things. It could be habits, it could be things, it could be whatever, right, in your life that is not feeling more aligned anymore. And you're like, oh, I can actually say no to this, and you'll feel better.
Yeah.
And you start noticing when you feel better because you're saying no to that thing that does not belong to you anymore, or is not really something that you ever even wanted to say yes to, but you said because you wanted to please somebody, or you wanted to please a situation, or whatever, or you're just habitually doing something that it feels not right anymore. So we always consistent in something. We're either consistent in doing something good that is aligned with ourselves, or sometimes not aligned with ourselves. So be consistent more into your authentic self.
Yes.
That's the big takeaway.
Amazing. I love it. Well, thank you for being here today, Bella.
Thank you so much, E.
Yes, and we are excited to continue this journey with all of you today. So we will see you on the next one.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Your Partner in Crime podcast. If you like this episode, please like, comment, and share with your tribe. We're so grateful you're here. See you next time.